colleague of mine and the director of FMA Institutes and Education. Mark Luxon's his name, and he's been in the health and fitness and education space for decades now, and been mentoring and working with personal trainers to improve their business and skills in the industry. Mark works alongside Mark Buckley at FMA Institute and has a wealth of knowledge and experience that I'm going to dig into today. So first of all, just welcome Mark to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Cubby Monster.
Yeah, I don't think the listeners will be familiar with the Cubby Monster name, but
feel free to run it with it now, guys. Now you know the nickname.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So just for the listeners that might not have come across you before and your work and what you've done, just give us a little bit of a snapshot and in history on your career.
Sure, mate. I out of school, when you're 18, you don't really know what you want to do. And, a lot of my story, mate, not we have to go into it too much, but, I guess I sought a lot of validation from my dad in doing well. So you go to a good school. I know you went to a private school in Melbourne, and the private school says, go to school, go to uni, get a job type thing. And mate, I was a financial planner, pretty much landed a full-time job in the shitty end of admin and finance. And then eventually, by the age of 23, I was a financial planner. And I, to be honest, didn't love it. I loved understanding about how to learn about investments and how to manage money. But, as a PT, you're spending most of your time working with people, and I was spending 2% of my time and 98% of my time behind a laptop. And I just hated it. Yeah, so I was a financial advisor, and, mate, I, at the same time, played footy. I had a number of injuries. Mate, you know how broken I was. Pretty much the whole time I know you, I played Aussie rules football, and I've had an ankle reconstruction, 2 ACL reconstructions, a shoulder reconstruction. Clearly my head's a bit broken, jaw reconstruction. But yeah, so mate, just through injury, I studied Certificate 4 in fitness to learn more about rehab. And then unfortunately, I learnt, can I swear on here?
Of course, go for it.
I learned fuck all about rehab. Way back in the day, in 2003, I did a Chek course where I met Paul Chek and Mark Buckley, and because I learned nothing about rehab, I went and studied that stuff, and that was huge in the early 2000s, late 90s, and so that kind of opened my mind. And after my old man had a heart attack, when I was about 23, I stepped out of my job for about 6 months, which I planned to go back to. And when we got that restaurant sold, a lady offered me a job, and I became a personal trainer in North Queensland, in Cairns for a year, of all places. And I loved it until I did my ACL playing for a rep squad game for Queensland on Carrara Oval. And then I made my trip back to Melbourne, and then I ended up meeting you around 2007. And I actually did it the opposite way. I kind of got headhunted, was involved as an owner of a PT studio, and we got really big really quick, and I hated that, in that we had 3 or 4 trainers, and then all of a sudden we had no trainers, and we had 250 clients, and I was looking after 250 clients on my own for about 8 weeks. And you know what it's like doing lots of sessions. I almost burnt myself out at the start, and then I went back to Fitness First and spent 5 years where, how good was our crew back in the day? If you think about influencers in the industry, some elite guys there. So that really took my whole game up a notch when I realized how much people studied and, were always educating themselves. And I noticed that the people who did that really succeeded, and the people who didn't typically fell out of the industry within 2 years.
Yeah, I guess that was probably my next question, was just about Fitness First in those days. I think, we got up to no good, but we're also like studying and working hard. Do you have any stories? Obviously, a lot of us still keep in touch, and you're obviously, some of your best mates came from Fitness First days.
Yeah, man, it was a pretty special time. We were just lucky. I think, it comes down to we had a pretty good manager, in that he wasn't a great manager when it came to, like, say, growing your business. We'll nickname him Sonic.
Yeah.
But you know, he basically always just said, like, keep educating, keep upskilling. That was one thing that was really cool. Like, you know, Chek had, I think, a big influence in, it was kind of the Chek and Poliquin camps at the gym, if you remember. And I think you and I both studied both of them because it was just fascinating at that time. And I think that's where I liked, like, I fell into this industry overtraining as a footy player, like, and fell in love with bodybuilding to begin with. I think most of us do. And so Fitness First was awesome because a lot of people, there was a real culture around study, and we would go out on Fridays for, you know, a frothy.
Yeah.
For you guys that don't know, if you're not from Australia, you know, a beer, or 10. Like, I remember, were you there when we did the cycle instructor day?
The cycle instructor? No. What?
Okay. So, you know, I don't know if you missed out on that one, but, like, we had to get our CEC points up because, you know, gyms have relationships with these governing bodies, and you have to do rubbish courses. And one day at Fitness First, we all had this cycling thing, but we had about 2 hours, and we knew the owner of the restaurant next door. And we knew we had to be there in like 2 hours, and Pat Ray was taking it. Yeah. And we literally, in like 2 hours, I think we had close to 10 or 12 beers, and we were blind. And we were doing these, like, you had to do a choreographed thing on bikes, and we were like doing monos and chucking the thing sideways. And mate, honestly, for the amount of fun we had, there was a lot of banter, but I think there was a lot of guys that just were also super focused in building businesses. Yeah. And so, mate, it was pretty special to be around, you know, really when I look at it now, 10 years longer in the industry, you know, guys like yourself, mate, that are doing great things in the industry. You know, Travis Jones, Lynn Trin, Amanda Rakusic with the Queen of Lean, like, just some really good people who, like, we still hang out with, because it's very foreign to know people that have been in the industry 10 plus years. No,
I know. And I think a testament to all those people that you just mentioned, and yourself included, is the education side of things. And probably one of the first things I do remember about working with you is I think this was like probably the Paul Chek days, and you were like heavily invested in educating yourself, and whether it was, you know, the flavour of the month or whatever it was, you sort of just got your hands dirty, and you sort of got in there, and you didn't really subscribe to one way of thinking. Where do you think you sort of got that in terms of being open to stuff? Because a lot of the trainers you'd see, particularly the guys that had been in the industry for a while, were sort of closed off. If they were sort of bodybuilding, they'd stick to their bodybuilding, and they'd just do this, and they'd sort of poo-poo everything else that wasn't aligned to themselves. But for you, and someone I admire, is you kind of kept yourself open to new education, new experience.
Yeah, do you know, mate, I've had a lot of, I mean, I'm so lucky that, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff with FMA in the past, and you know Buckley, right? But he's been the single biggest influence on me. And yeah, I always wanted to study a lot of stuff, but I guess where I'm going with this is, like, I understand my story, you know, and a big part of my story, mate, and this is for a lot of people as well, is, to be honest, mate, and I'll be raw with this stuff, because this is what drove me, is that I never actually thought I was good enough. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this stuff, but, mate, when I was 5, I was left-handed at prep. I was left-handed, and they made me change to my right hand. And that's where it all started, the story of, firstly, I was that dumb, mate, I think this is my story, that I repeated prep. Like, not many people can you know, say that. Yeah,
finger painting. You failed the finger painting test.
Mate, I sucked at finger painting, right? I didn't get my pen license, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I struggled to learn. Now, you know, it's fucking funny, but I actually bumped into my principal of my school, and he's like, what are you doing? I ended up actually talking in front of 2,000 students, and he can't believe that I'm in education, right? Now, for all of you guys, this is the thing. Most people don't strive to become a PT. You know, like, I told you that I got into finance, and you got to be relatively smart, but my whole story has always been I'm not good enough. So I was obviously always passionate about learning. Like, I grew up with a dad that's very entrepreneurial and always been in business and stuff. And, you know, even when I saw you, I've always been like that, but you're always trying to find your place in the world. So you always learn the skills based on what you're really fascinated about at that time. Like, mate, for you, you were doing your exercise science degree whilst you were working. Like, I love seeing you, you know, like, and I wish if I'd done it over again, I was 18, I probably would have gone down the exercise science route. But even now, what I know, I'd never change that story of not feeling like I was enough, because it made me so driven to want to get better. Now I just know that I'm only really going to study things that I really need, and I'm now starting to really build out this model of understanding of, you know, I'm 36 now, so really 18 years in the industry of finance and business. And the funny thing, mate, is now I'm like the business guy, sales, marketing. I never saw myself doing that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's funny how all of these things and all these experiences lead you towards what you do now.
Yeah, but I mean,
and where you found yourself.
At the time, you probably didn't realize, you know, you got to the end of your finance degree or finance career, you thought at the time, and now you look back at it and you're probably glad that you went through those initial steps for you to actually learn those, you know, sales and marketing skills now that it sort of comes full circle for you.
Mate, 100%. Yeah, so it's interesting when you look back at the journey, you can now make sense of all the things you did and connect the dots and, you know, understand this story. But yeah, just to summarize the study thing, it was like, I think I've just always wanted to be good at what I did.
Yeah.
So you gotta work out what your gaps are.
Yeah.
And look, mate, this is what I'm really passionate about now, obviously being in education, is I don't just want to like do skill set courses. Like when I was a PT, I just chased, and then you know what it's like, they chase skill set. Always in this hope that the story is that they're going to be good enough. But it's got to have ROI, and this is what I'm really passionate about. It's like, if you're going to do anything and you want to win in business, in life, it's got to have ROI, and you've really got to show up for it. And I just want to give people real world skills, like not the bullshit. I don't want people wasting their time. And mate, you know what, like the FMA skill set, we've just done the same thing now with business and all of that now. It all kind of comes together in one beautiful thing, which is what we're passionate about.
Yeah, and you see that a lot, and I kind of look back at certain parts of my career and I see other people who are like passionate about whether it's personal training or strength and conditioning. They seem to like put so much effort into individual, you know, skills within that, you know, they're somewhat of a specialist in the thing, but then it comes to the end of the day, they don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how investing $10,000 or $15,000 in their education is actually going to have a return on their investment. And that's sort of what I've been watching from you afar. I can see with the courses that you guys have developed now, it's not just about being that specialist.
Well, mate, as you see, when you get really good at what you do, right? Like when you get really good at what you do, it's about mastering your craft. And you know, people find themselves in, whether it is bodybuilding or rehab or whatever, or strength conditioning. But at the end of the day, you know, if you get stuck being a practitioner, you know, earning an income, and mate, you know what it's like, because we have both, like, mate, I used to see you, like, I always say this, but like, mate, you were one of the cruisiest dudes who I don't know how you could punch out 50, 60 sessions a week and do a full-time degree. But there's so many PTs that, you know, on the outside, they think they're winning. But the thing is, they've just got a job, you know, they're just earning an income. And the thing is, we're taught this bullshit, and this is the problem, that whilst, yes, they're winning, they've got money, they're time poor. And mate, the amount of people now that I've spending hundreds and hundreds of hours of calls and coaching people, is that it's their definition of success. You know, it is like, it's their conditioning. And, you know, where did you learn your conditioning? Typically from your family. So they end up basically being stuck. And this is the thing, they're living to work, not working to live.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? And this is the thing, we want to coach people on what we're doing, because this is fucking way cooler. You know, we get to have fun, travel, have the experiences we want to have. And dude, business is just a thing to get you experiences that you want to have. Yeah,
well, I remember like probably the first, say, 10 years of my career, it's like, because you associate, you know, you booking a session and getting paid for your time, you associate being busy with being successful. And that's probably the last 5 years I've realized being busy isn't a KPI of success. It just means you're either bad at time management or you're focused in the wrong area.
Yeah, and I said, it's just your conditioning, you know. So Cubby, like, you know, how do you let go of your conditioning, right? Like, mate, my old man, I love my dad. You know, it's crazy. Like, I love my dad, and I talk a lot about this because I've always looked up to my dad in that he's a real goer. Like, he puts his balls in the line. You know, I know your dad comes from more like a job path, right? Or he runs his own business.
Runs his own business, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know, relatively successful in their businesses. My dad the same, you know, but like my dad still today, he's 65, he still works stupidly hard. You know, like, and I'm like, and he still like tells me, oh, he's doing it for me. I'm like, Dad, you're not doing it for me. I don't actually need your money. You know, like I make more money than my dad now, you know, but it's not about money, you know, it's like I literally got clear on what I really wanted, and I had to look at my definition of a man and definition of success, and it's not, mate, a fucking badge of honor working 60 plus hours a week. That shit's broken.
Yeah.
Mate, I did that 2 years ago and I almost lost Laura.
Yeah.
You know, and this is, I think for most people, either these people that are running that kind of model, and I hope that if they watch this back, how do you step up your game and do this in a way that you win? I think it's a big part. You've got to work out, well, have these people experienced the consequence of the way that they're working and they really want to change it? Or have they not experienced the consequence, therefore they're not going to change it?
Yeah.
You know, and all that conditioning for me was about choice. It was like, I just want to do this, but I just want to get paid to be me. I want to do things the way I want to do it. And mate, to be honest, I work 9 to 4. My whole day's about me in the morning. I train, I read, because we love to study. This is one of the things that you and I share in common. I have time for the family then for an hour and a half. I start work about 9. I've got a team of people that now do stuff. I've got an admin person. I don't do any admin. I just get to do me.
Yeah.
Right? It's fucking awesome. I work 6 weeks a year in courses. That's it.
Yeah. And so
the rest of the time we're coaching people.
Yeah. So obviously with that, it's taken you, you know, like 10 or so years, but a level of self-awareness.
Yep.
And I always talk about that with my clients for success and for being successful. Any type of program, you need to be aware of yourself, your own traits. But you've obviously done the work on yourself to realize that, you know, this is what you like. This is what you hate admin. You like studying. What were the resources and maybe the mentors and the people that influenced you to get that lifestyle and to get that clear vision of what you like and then obviously what you want to be like?
You know, it's funny. Like, I think, you know, you do all this stuff, like even at uni, like you do, and a little of it's bullshit because you've really got to connect with it. But like, you know, a SWOT analysis on yourself. And I know, I think you know, Cubby, like, mate, if I was to say on you, like, one of your greatest things is the strength that you and I share, and that's connecting with people. You know, it's being real and really connecting with people. And I think even as trainers, like before we were actually really good at training, we were always good at the relationship stuff. And so for me, like, if you look at, like, I'm never going to be Mark Buckley. Like Mark Buckley, who runs FMA, as you know, world class in terms of teaching and skill set stuff. And then when I started looking at my path, it kind of evolved where I realized that 3, 4, 5 years ago, I was really good at connecting with people and bringing people together towards like a common cause. I was always good at it in PT. Like we were always fully booked, but I was like, how do I do this in a bigger way? And I kind of, to be honest, one, I fell into it, but two, it was kind of that question. And honestly, it's been spending so much time with Mark. It's getting clear on what was the highest use of my time.
Yeah.
You know, like that was the question. You know, now, mate, for me, there was actually, this is a great drill. This is what we do, and we do this at Mastermind. We do this at Cert. Mark calls it your North Star, and your North Star is obviously, you know, as a concept is like it's the brightest star in the sky. It's the one that people would navigate themselves towards wherever they were going. And mate, your North Star is really about what is most important to you, and we talk about values. But mate, we both love training, right? Like I love training, but I don't value training as much as I used to when I was a PT. You know, I used to train 5 days a week. Now, mate, I'm 36, mostly broken. I kind of just want to look relatively good and be strong. You know, but I love training, but I don't value it as much as I used to. You know, I love really good food. I love being able to sleep in, and this was the big change for me, being able to sleep in without an alarm clock. How many years did we wake up with a fucking alarm clock?
Yeah.
Right?
It's
so
tough.
we wanted... You know, so I got clear on all of these things were really important. Now, as you know, mate, I'm a dad. I've got a boy, a girl, and another girl on the way. And the North Star drill was like, in 10 years' time, where do I want to be? You know, in 10 years' time, Harvey will be 15, Sophia will be 12, and final daughter will be 9.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, in 10 years' time, like, where do I really want to be? And I got clear on that. And once I got clear on that, like, where we want to live, we've got, obviously, we've got the beach house, we've got our house, we want to renovate Northcote because now we've got 3 kids, it's going to be too small. We want to have a country house. And apart from that, I just want to be able to, like, kind of like work kind of like half a week on, from a different spot and have half the week off. But number one, I want to be a dad. And 2, I want to be a husband, and business and all that stuff comes third. So if I can do that and travel and have fun teaching people about the stuff that I love, which is, business and health and training, then that's what got me really clear. And then I go, okay, what is also the stuff I don't love doing? The benefit of making a bit more money and stepping up your game is that you get to outsource marketing. You get to outsource admin. I fucking hate admin, right? So, dude, that's how I got clear. What am I really good at? What's my thing? What is my thing, Cubby? You've known me for a long time. You know what my thing is.
In terms of business or in terms of just...
Yeah.
Your thing is, I guess, you're a salesman, like underneath it all. You connect with people. You're a good communicator. So, I mean, although you're a practitioner, you've studied a lot, but I would say you're probably number one. You're very commercial, and I think obviously that's what Buckley saw in you as well, as your ability to connect the dots for him.
And that's the thing. The one thing that kind of is funny, mate, it's been my identity around that as well. And I think the big shift, and mate, I haven't spoken to you in ages, but I don't feel like I even was what I was 6 months ago, right? Like as a man and the amount of work. And when you say it's all this inner work, like, I don't feel like I sell anymore.
No.
The crazy part is, yes, my highest use of my time is to build FMA, right? And to bring the right energy in. But, mate, so it was about getting really connected with, one, the highest use of my time, which is to build FMA. But, mate, I like you, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
So I've really connected with, I actually move away from the whole thing of being a salesman, is that the highest use of my time is to serve people that for example, so I focus on the people that we've got, 10, 20 people opting into our stuff a day.
Yeah.
My highest use of my time is to serve others. It's to really connect with them on really what's getting in their way and what's getting them stuck. And I've got to show them their blind spots. And then it's about giving back and contributing with the 15 years of knowledge I have, with the 25 plus years of Buckley's knowledge, and bringing this stuff together. And I'm the gatekeeper for FMA. That's what I view my role. So, mate, we're changing the industry, which is amazing. But now I'm so connected with that. That's why I show up and I fucking love what I do. That's why now we show up like you do, putting in podcasts and doing stuff. Because, mate, you want to give back to these guys and say, mate, this was the journey. Like, it wasn't linear. No means linear. But, mate, I've invested probably $250,000 in mentors in the last 3 or 4 years to step my stuff up to go from like I took over no systems with FMA in terms of sales and marketing. I didn't really know it. I just did it out of passion. Now it's got a process. It's rocking and rolling. It's good. I've now got a team of guys that help me with this stuff. I now more coach them. I don't do as much of it. It's good fun. Yeah.
And where would you suggest, so this is not necessarily pointed at FMA, but if, you had a trainer listening to this and they were in that, time for money thing, they were sort of in that rut and they weren't, I guess, self-aware. Is there any sort of particular resource? Is there like a book that you would suggest, for your new trainers or people that are getting into the industry? It doesn't have to be nuts and bolts of training, but more for what the topic we're speaking about now, self-awareness and realizing where that North Star is for that coach or trainer.
Yeah. Okay, it's so hard when you ask that question, but there are some books like Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that book. Mark talked a lot about a guy who was a psychologist, Maxwell Maltz. The book Psycho-Cybernetics, which talks about you can't outrun your idea of yourself. And this is like, for example, like I love mate, look over here. I've got about half my books over there.
Oh, there we go.
Right. We love books, guy, right? But I think North Star, guys. I'll tell you what North Star is. Get clear on your personal stuff and what's most important to you. Put that in your diary first. time with your partner, time for training, time for eating, downtime. Don't overvalue work. People overvalue work. They undervalue everything else in their life, and you wonder why you don't feel on track and on purpose. I think the biggest thing, mate, is that you've got to start doing this inner work, and the inner work is every day, mate. I wake up now and I review my day, and maybe something comes up, and this is like so many people I've had influence from, like I don't really love his sales stuff, but I love Grant Cardone, right? Like he's like an ultimate sales weapon, but it's not that I necessarily love his stuff, but I love his idea around mastery, and mate, I think where so many people are brought up to realize that if they're not enough, the way they try and think that they're enough is by what they do and what they have, right? It's about having a good house, it's about having money, it's about having lots of clients. None of that's success, and you know that, right? You have all the clients, you have all the business, you have all the money, and you're like, that doesn't make you happy, because then you just move the yardstick, right? It's all outcome focused, and the hardest thing for me to let go of was my stories that I'm driven by outcome, because for me, outcome was how I got love met by my dad, and that's why I always sought that attention through doing well, through going to uni, through being really successful, through having houses. It's all bullshit. That's why people it's social media. You notice, mate, I hardly post on social media because I'm focused on building a business, and I have ads that do that for me, you know? So for me, it was about focusing on process. And if my highest use of my time, and for most of PTs, the highest use of your time is not the training. The highest use of your time is to actually learning how to become a business person, because you have not a job, you have a business. And what you do is you start off getting good at service, but then to get out of the one-on-one, you've got to start to scale or leverage it. So we teach PTs how to get into the semi-private stuff, but not everyone knows semi-private, but this is like high-end, as you know, semi-private. This is like individualized programming where you need to be 2 to 4 times better than a one-on-one trainer to do that. Because then if you're only working 12 to 15 hours and you're making 2.5 to 4K a week, that's a pretty good start. Then we might think about bringing on a trainer underneath you or 2, and then you're earning 7-8 grand a week. Then you open a gym. It makes sense, and you learn marketing and sales and stuff before opening a gym and then just hoping they'll all come. So I think, though, where it starts is focusing on the process of what you do day in, day out, and becoming more of a business person, which means being a bit less of a kid. Most PTs hate looking at numbers. You gotta know this stuff. Like, you gotta be like the Adam McCubbin or the Mark Buckley in terms of skill set, and you gotta be the Mark Luxon in business. You gotta be both in your business, So you gotta start being an adult in those areas and taking responsibility. But I think you gotta get clear what you want business to look like, and you then gotta get clear first. Well, what is your North Star? So for me, I don't want to work outside of 9 to 4, and in 10 years' time, mate, I guarantee you and I will be probably working the same, maybe 6 hours a day, and we'll be building a business, and we'll be having families, and we'll be traveling, and we'll be doing cool shit, and we'll be helping people, but not much has to change, and that's what your North Star is all about.
Yeah, awesome. So just moving back into, I guess, FMA and those early days. I think you and I first did. I think you probably did the course before me, but I remember like the first time I attended, and I think John Sharp was teaching at the time. I didn't get exposure to Mark initially, but just that for the people that wouldn't know FMA, because if they're from America or another country, their exposure might be a little bit less. Can you just explain the overarching, I guess, principles of how it began and the stuff that they used to teach, as opposed to what now obviously it's more of a 360 approach with you guys, but yeah.
Like you've had the experience of, like, at the start, I think FMA, Mark had this vision of, the first course we did was like 2009, and I remember going in and doing the course, and I'm like, wow, that was fucking amazing, but fucking wow. Like, I'm like, either I'm really stupid, I just need to come back and do this course like 15 times. And I think this is the big challenge for PTs, is that everything that we have now in the course, it's had probably close to, he's probably done 500-600 courses, it's changed so much, and it's been through trial and error like anything you do. So, mate, FMA is all about creating really high value coaches. You know, this skill set where, see, what I love is that, because we teach you business, but before business, you can learn how to become, this is the thing I hate about the word salesman. You can become a salesman, but if your skill set's not good and you can't deliver on your offering, it's like trying to make strawberry jam out of shit. You know, it's still shit.
It's true.
And so it comes down to your skill set, obviously, right? So yes, I love skill set, but you got to be able to see there's no correlation, Cubby, between how smart you are, how much you know, and how much money you make. Right? So we talk about, obviously FMA is about bridging the gap between the best of musculoskeletal rehab and strength conditioning. So what Mark spent 10 years with the Chek Institute, obviously knows Chek and rehab really well, but he was refining the Chek courses, and then basically it was time after 10 years for him to step out and run FMA. And he talks about going and meeting Louis Simmons from Westside Barbell 10 years ago. And so Mark wanted to study the strength sports because he wanted to understand, because he was getting into training like Byron Callagher and all these All Black rugby players and swimmers and MMA fighters, as well as obviously Gen Pop. But he wanted to understand, well, how do we use all these different techniques, which today, mate, we're still ahead of the game. You know, like people don't know how to use all these exercises, Olympic lifting, strongman, hypertrophy, powerlifting, but what exercises make sense for the client based on the outcome they want. So it's about bridging that gap between rehab and S&C. And what I love is our students now, the vision is now they're working alongside like osteos and physios. And the second that someone gets out of pain, or as you know, with a lot of our assessments, like the first one's the weight shift. If they've got a weight shift and it's coming from the atlas or axis, or it's coming from the lower extremities, we can refer out to like an osteo, get them treated, we get them back, we get them out of pain, and then we take them towards performance. Right? So I like, what I love is no matter what skill sets people already have, and we know they're going to do a lot of skill sets, especially the guys we get, they're already successful like you. We take that to the whole next level. It's kind of like the glue, you know, to everything else. But what I also love is that we're teaching guys the most valuable skill set you can have, and that is how to actually monetize the skill set you've got. And mate, what it all comes back to is PTs get a bit weird when it comes to sales. They have issues around their value, around money, through their conditioning. So, mate, we say a lot, like sales is about serving. It's not about selling. And it's about learning how to position yourself. And it's all about bringing the right energy into your community, because you might only have 16 to 20 clients at any one time.
Yeah.
So the only way you win in business, mate, is to be high-end and profitable. So we do that. And, mate, the biggest thing you probably don't know is that we know that the personal training business model is fucked. You know, that people are working crazy long hours, they're getting burnt out. And so now what we're doing is we basically have got a business model we're teaching these PTs, which is a blueprint, which is like they work 9 to 12 hours of like semi-private a week, and they're bringing home anywhere between 2.5 and 4K a week in only 12 hours. So once they get that nailed down, and it might take them 12 to 18 months, then they start to bring on a trainer because they've got a replicatable process. So this is what the problem was, if we didn't teach you stuff in business, when you got someone who trains with you once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, it kind of fucks up your whole schedule, and you can't really get people the results that you wanted to get them.
Yeah.
So we had to teach them that stuff.
Yeah. And then just going back to more of the, I guess, the practitioner side, what is the course structure around, like obviously you've got the business sales, the full 360 approach, but in terms of now, like, so when I first started, they did, like, it was all about the assessment, understanding if they met the orthopedic profile for each lift. And then level 2 was more on the strength and conditioning side of things. And then you had level 3 was like strongman, and level 4 was Olympic lifting. What's the structure now?
Yeah, it's been relatively consistent now for the last, I guess, 2.5 years. What we did was, mate, we've got a foundation course that's called the FMA certification course. And, mate, this is why I don't typically talk about a lot of that stuff, because in that course, basically it's 5 days, and there's a lot of prerequisite material now. Like, yes, you've got all the videos, mate. All that stuff's been reshot. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they come in with that knowledge of the assessments, but the 5 days is all about hands-on. You got to know all the assessments, because obviously whatever someone brings to the table, like you said, orthopedic profile assessment is about understanding what is structural from what is functional. Now, for your listeners, it's like if someone has a leg length discrepancy or scoliosis, like, you know, unless you're God or a surgeon, you can't really change that stuff. So you need to understand what someone brings to the table. If that's the case, we've got to work around that, right? Like, look at you. You're not, just stand up for me, Cubby, right? You're 6'5". He's a monster. Look at his arms. The guy's not really made, for example, for bench pressing or powerlifting, right? He's not really, you know, a bench presser has really short arms and a massive chest, right? We're all built a certain way. So we screen them for that. And then also, you know, their functional assessments, which are things like the joints. And so we know if we can mobilize the joint, increase the range of motion, because a lot of the stuff we're taught, like stretching people, is a waste of time. But all of that stuff is in their cubby. And then they basically get under the bar. They learn the tightness of the technique in grooving a lot of the big lifts. But then we also go into what we call program design around S1, S2, S3. So we're using the conjugate system because conjugate's just fucking powerful. You know, like you can get someone stronger, leaner, or stronger and bigger through like strength, hypertrophy, and conditioning. It just depends what their goal is. If we use a little bit more of S1, that's like powerlifting or whatever, or strongman, or if it's like hypertrophy, it's more the S2 stuff, and then, or if they want to get stronger, leaner, bigger, it's all three, right? So you got to understand all of these layers of rehab, S&C, what someone brings to the table, and then like the basically almost a day and a half is about, cool, okay, well, now that we know how to pull all this together and run it again in also that semi-private model, it's also then about, well, how do we monetize it, and how do we position what we do? And a lot of the PTs, we have these sayings like, you know, FMA is about helping you grow up, show up, level up your business. The R-rated version is we
just say it.
It's like we want to stop trainers doing dumb shit, right? Yeah. So it's about get the fuck out of your way and stop doing dumb shit, you know? And the dumb shit is the crazy long split shift, one-on-one, back-to-back for 5 sessions, exhaust yourself, fall in a heap, and then I need a holiday after every 3 months, you know? So once they understand all those moving parts, we pretty much we do that immersion 3 times a year because they need to know it to the point where they know how to assess the subacromial impingement in the shoulder, fix it, and pick all the right exercises and program design. Otherwise, they don't get it. Yeah. So, yeah, we don't just churn people out. Pretty much, mate, there's only that course. We do a couple of offshoots. Yes, we're doing like a strength course 3 days out in October. But, yeah, we've got some offshoots. So we do some hypertrophy stuff. But then pretty much it's either that or we have a purely dedicated, like 2 weeks ago, I ran 25 people a business build-out course, which is basically the opposite of that. If Cert's like 80% skill set, 20% business, if I take out the psychology, it's the other way around for business build-out. So 80% business, 20% skill set, run the model, practice it, but they need to know how to... Mate, people don't know how to communicate. This is the problem. People don't know how to communicate this stuff. If I was to talk and ask you guys, what's your personal brand? It's a bit, I'm a trainer, I do like, seriously, no one, it's fucking boring. Yeah. You know, you want to be cool and funny when you talk about what you do, you know? So it's all about those conversations that we have so that when we've got mastermind, which mastermind's like more now guys that are making 3, 4, 5 grand a week, they want to become more leaders, they want to have trainers underneath them, or they're thinking about then opening a gym, or we've got guys running retreats. Like, we teach guys this stuff. So there's a few levels, mate, and we also now actually do Cert 4 from the start. So we're cradle to grave. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because Cert 4, like back when I used to do it, it was a bit of... I wouldn't poo-poo it too much, but you come out of the course and you don't know literally anything, and you're prescribing exercises that could potentially, you know, break someone, you know, make them worse than they already are. And that's probably the biggest one that I got from FMA is like, know where someone's at, and then sort of be able to problem solve, you know, what I can do with this person and where you can take them on a safe journey, rather than just hoping that you know, survival of the fittest is going to work. I'll give them this template and then hope, you know, if they do GVT, they're going to hopefully, you know, get some sort of fat loss or result.
Yeah, it's to throw shit against the wall and hope it sticks. Mate, this whole industry is just unregulated. Anyone can do anything and say, I'm a strength coach. unfortunately, mate, as you know, it's about managing the benefit to risk of anything you give them. And, mate, if we're going to use all these big lifts, like you and I are relatively strong dudes, I would just say, you know, all the guys that come through our course now are saying that I'm a fossil. And if I'm a fossil, you're a fossil, mate, because we're old,
Yeah.
right? I'm not really. I'm 36, but fuck,
Yeah.
you know.
It's relative to the people who you're hanging out with.
Yeah, they're 23 and, you know, young, dumb and full of cum, you know. So, but dude, it's like, you know, when it comes to these lifts, it does take a lot of responsibility. If you're going to get people strong and you're going to get them under the bar and they're half broken, you know, it's a worry.
Yeah. So with all that stuff, what's it been like in terms of working with Buckley? He's a bit of an enigma, that guy. I've messaged him several times to get him on the podcast, but it's like trying to call Batman. You just got to put that sign in the sky and hope he sees it.
Send him a little bottle. Hopefully it rocks up on the beach down in Punta Cana in the Dominican. Mate, look, and I'll get him on your podcast, but it's been amazing. You know, like, I think we're so different. I think about that book. In fact, it is a great book, by the way. The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. I don't know if you've ever read it.
No, I haven't.
But what they talk about is, like, it's so true. And now I start to think about, you know, who am I talking to and what do they like? Like, Buckley is, and for me, it's frustrating, yet it's awesome. He's what you call a questioner. So a questioner is always trying to work out a way to perfect things and make things better. And so he's always changing stuff because we notice what we need to change every time. Like, we notice these gaps. So he's very good at having internal expectation because he holds himself to a high account, but he's not very good, for example, when I say, do this, do that, do this, if I ask for it, right?
Yeah.
Like when you ask for it. He does things on his own terms,
Yeah.
right? So whereas I'm an upholder, like, I'm more someone that's good at internal expectation. I'm also really good when I have a coach as well. But there's a problem, and, like, that sounds really good, but at the same time, like, when things change a lot, I struggle with that. You know, and I'm just used to it now, you know? I'm used to, like, Mark, after every course, we need to do that, we need to do this, we need to fill that gap. And because that's just what I realize. It's like, mate, when we have these conversations with trainers, they're always the same conversations. So, for example, we're building out entire, like, Q&A sections on our website where it's like, how do I have a conversation about my current clients with one-on-one, and how do we transition towards semi-private? So we're like building out entire content so that all these same questions are like a catalog. And this is what I'm saying, like, we're always obsessed about that. But the next thing would be, to be honest, we're like going to run a program that will launch overseas, because the first way that we could probably get the best wins is to teach people sales in a way that's not fucking broken. Mate, every salesperson I've ever had coaching from or that I've read, they're 100 years old. The shit's broken. It's just they become very salesy, but, like, it's not the right energy. And so we're probably going to do something like that around how to really position what you do, and how do we focus on serving clients and come from the right energy, and how do you start selling people into a thing that you know you can deliver on. We're going to be filming something in October to take overseas, because once we get a win like that, mate, I'd love to come to Dubai. You know, like, we already are in London. We've already been in London. We've already been in parts of the States, like California. And we do want to go off, but, mate, Australia is so easy. People fly to us from all around Australia. We're busy. I don't really want to get up in our process at 3 o'clock in the morning and talk to London. Like, you know what I mean? Like... No. So we could do it, but I think, like, those kind of things is what people really need. They need to learn, I guess, first and foremost, how to monetize what they do, and then we can take their skill set and do all that stuff to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's what it's like with Buckley. We're always scheming, chatting. That's the things I love. It's like, how do we keep, because our whole purpose, like yours, mate, is to feed your guys with great information. Ours is the same. We look at where are they breaking down and where do we need to fix it to be giving these guys what we want. And that's your whole purpose, right? That's why we wake up every day excited.
Yeah. And do you still have like other presenters working for you, or is Mark doing the bulk of the, I guess, the practitioner side of presenting now?
Yeah, we just simplified everything, mate. What we found is that, like anything, no one's really invested in your stuff as much as you are. And we do have some up-and-coming presenters, like, mate, a guy like Nick Stevenson. you'd love him being on your podcast because he's just a good kid. You know, he's studied exercise science, mate. So he's the only one outside of Mark and I that present.
Yeah. And
we did that for a lot of reasons. But like you said, there's John Sharp, who's a very, very intelligent guy, but he's not Mark Buckley.
Mm.
And when everyone has the Buckley experience, you know, how did you find that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's the guy who created it, so it's a different experience. And I mean,
next level.
Yeah, but I mean, not to discredit John Sharp is probably one of the most engaging presenters I've seen. He's like got a very unique skill set when it comes to teaching, but maybe not
totally.
For FMA.
But this is like you know, Mark outgrew Chek. John wanted to then go off and do his own thing. That's why he spent 6 years with Buckley. That's why Gavin spent 6 years with Buckley. That's why Sebastian Oreb spent 3 years with Buckley, because they get good and then they want to do their own thing. Like, I think that's natural, but I think for us, for our brand, people want that experience. You know, so what we did, mate, this is the most exciting part. I don't run 15 courses anymore a year. I run 3.
Yeah.
They come out to Australia. I fly Mark out every February, June, and October.
So he's only coaching 3 times, only teaching 3 times per year? Yeah.
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 And, mate, it's awesome. We have people traveling from America. We have people traveling from New Zealand, from Perth, you know, and they come to one spot. We had, like, the Gold Coast mid-year. It's awesome because, as you know, Melbourne's freezing fucking cold and we don't want to be here in June. Mm. You know, like, so I bet you don't miss this, right?
No.
Being over in Dubai.
Absolutely not. I mean,
it's 10 degrees today.
It's stinking hot here at the moment. It's probably the opposite. It's 42 degrees. Yeah, so it's the other end of the scale.
Oh, I feel for you, mate. Sweating it out and getting a tan. Have a look at you. You know, I think, we simplified it. We went back to Buckley and I, and it's been awesome. We don't overdo it. It's like, and I think that gap is awesome. But then how we give guys a lot more support is we do a lot more online, like, calls, like 2 times a week for the month after the course. Then it goes to a week the next month, and then it's like 2 weekly, and then it's almost there again. You know, so we're almost coming up in October to our next one, and it's, you know, like it's awesome. Like, honestly, I actually work 6 weeks of the year plus a couple of business build outs. Like life's pretty good, mate, and that's how we've been able to work it. Where the business works for us now. We're not slaves to trying to always fill a course, and you know, like these are all the things you learn over. You know, the last 4 years for me.
Yeah. What do you reckon, like, I know we touched on it before, but what do you see is the biggest gap in the industry and areas that you see and sort of, I guess, maybe pisses you off that you see people doing the wrong thing? Like, I know you're probably a little bit more outspoken than me in terms of when someone's doing something wrong in the gym, you'll go up and tell them straight away. But is there anything now that you see as a glaring gap that you guys are trying to fill with FMA?
Mate, I don't spend much time in commercial gyms, thank God, so I don't see it anymore. And I think every PT that's watching this that's any good knows what we're talking about. Like, but it's more that, like, I'm not the type of guy to sit back and bag someone. That's just not my energy. Like, I'd rather, in the nicest way, help them and see if I, like, with my skill set, that's the energy I always had as you did as a PT. Don't bag them, go and help them. But I think there's so many things, but, you know, marketing on Facebook and Instagram is about 6-figure this and go and run lead gen and go and become an online group trainer. Like, mate, and this is the crap that we're getting bombarded with. And so every guy that wants to jump on a call, I know how this plays out, you know. First off, you've got to be someone of value first.
Yeah.
You know, you got to put your time in the trenches. And if you've been doing it a long time and you're still super busy and you're tired, well, you can fix that. But once, like, you can learn how to go online. And if you look at both of our models now are mostly online, right?
Yeah.
Like mine's a combination of online support and we do live events. Now, when you've been in the industry and you've got a lot of value to give and you could run retreats and stuff and support like that, you do that stuff at a high level. There's no point in going online and charging $50 for something. It's just broken. You just end up doing more work offline, which is probably not the thing you actually probably really enjoyed, the fact that you get to talk to people and be kinesthetic. So I just think people are getting bombarded with the wrong information, and it always comes back to get really good at service. then eventually start to become more of like an advisory consultant and work with, say, more people. And then eventually when you've done that, you can then think about like presenting, if that's your thing, and getting better at that side, or running courses or seminars or workshops. And then online, I like the mix. That's a guidance model, online and courses is guidance. So I think you've got to have the skill set to back up what you do, which always comes back to master your craft first. Yeah. And if you're going to learn marketing and advertising and all this kind of stuff, mate, I only really have people doing that at our level when they're making $4 or $5 a week. Because it doesn't make sense. Like, you got to pump about $100 minimum a day into Facebook to get anywhere with lead gen. So if you can't afford $700 a week, and by the way, if you can't afford to just throw it away, then don't do it yet.
Yeah, well, you have to see a return.
Lot of that stuff, the wrong messages. I don't know. What do you think? What are the things that you see?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. It's like it's sort of changed because say 5-10 years ago, you'd ask a PT in Fitness First. What are you trying to do? It's either they're going to open up their own facility or they want to be a strength and conditioning coach. Now, I'd say if you go to Fitness First, you probably ask them, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to be an online trainer or an influencer, or it's changed a little bit in terms of what people want to do. And the same thing that you were talking about before, it goes back to, people are trying to do things before they're actually, been in the trenches and actually experienced what it's like to work with someone who is coming back from an ACL injury, or, real world things that, you see trainers a lot of the times, they'll be prescribing, a really complicated or demanding sort of neural type of workout for someone who's like completely broken and burnt out the first time that they see them. But I mean, that just comes back to, I guess, learning the nuts and bolts and the ABCs. And I think I've heard Lin Chun talk about it before. It's like you need to get good before you go online. It's like there's no point going online.
Of course. So, I think to summarize that, like, if you look at the people that it works for online, and like, mate, we've even had guys like Luke Lehman in our mastermind. Come to our mastermind. See, a guy like Luke Lehman, who runs Muscle Nerds, and mate, great course, but he's a very much a science brain, and nutrition and that type of stuff. Like, Luke traveled the world with Poliquin Group. He's got a huge network, like thousands of trainers that buy courses. So he's got pent up demand. Guys like Sebastian Oreb, Baz obviously, knows powerlifting, trains Thor, world's strongest man, got a really good social media following, also got his partner and sister-in-law are Base Body Babes, who are marketing people behind him as well to do a lot of his stuff. And, say Hattie Boydell, world figure model, and got a huge following. By the way, all three of those people have done FMA. Yeah. Just thought, you're welcome. But they've done many other courses. Many. Like, they're highly skilled. So when you've done something of note in the industry, and then think about it, they've all been in the industry 10 plus years. They've got what's called pent up demand. So when they launch something, almost with not much money, they get a lot of people into their course, which will be good for the first few years, and then they need to learn marketing. So it works for them. The other people it works for is all the things that we see is wrong with the industry, the people that don't really add a whole lot of value and sell a $50 thing. But even a lot of those people have got business people behind them. Like Hattie's amazing. Hattie Boydell's amazing, but she's also got her partner behind her running the sales team. And I know that she works a lot with a lot of some of my mentors, yeah, it's interesting. I think you're like kind of a celebrity and it makes sense because you've got pent up demand, or the other way that you do it and actually end up, if you do well, is you've got to have money. If you don't have either of those two things, how can you make sense of doing it? It doesn't make sense. It's not going to work out well. We know how the story plays out. And for every 100 people that go on and do the online thing, 1 or 2 win. The rest, I know a lot of people choke in their money going and paying guys like that mentors to go online, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, but because I think
if 100, 200 people are doing the same marketing, well, it's going to be hard to get the clients, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's what some people overlook is, guys like Poliquin, guys like Paul Chek, yes, and same with Mark Buckley, yes, they're super smart, but they've also found their message, what they're trying to get across, and then they are good at marketing and sales. Like, I mean, you and I have both sat through a lot of Poliquin's courses together, and like the guy's like, he's just a good storyteller. He's sort of mesmerizing to be around, and I think it gets lost on people. They think that they're just like super good practitioner, but those guys are actually really good at selling themselves.
Yeah, mate, you have to. Like Grant Cardone, he says, like, where you put a lot of attention, if you have a lot of attention, money follows. And these guys, they're really good at it. I think the other thing, mate, and it just made me think about it, is that I think people are thinking and focusing on the wrong thing. And that is, we all look at the Paul Cheks and the Poliquins and the Mark Buckleys and we go, oh, fuck, they're amazing. I want to be like them. Dude, they're like, let's say they're the scale of 10. Do you know what I mean? Your clients, where are they on the scale, right? If this is a pyramid, where do your clients fit in terms of what they know out of 10?
Yeah. Probably
0 or 1,
yeah.
Right? You're focusing on people being a 10 and think you're stupid. Mate, you're probably at like a 5, but you're still way better than what's, your clients.
Yeah, so you're adding value there.
Focus on the right thing. You're focusing wrong. If you focus wrong, you'll feel like a dud, you'll struggle, you won't show up for your business. Focus on the people you can help. It's the most important thing. Right? Yeah. People get too caught up in yes, upskilling is really important. The right type of upskilling, for sure.
Yeah, so with, obviously you've been successful for decades now. You've sort of found your mission, found your alignment on what you like doing, but what specifically are your routines around work, productivity, daily habits, that sort of stuff? Because I think that gives sort of insight into how you sort of become a peak performer and how you can operate on a level that's going to offer value to clients and to your people you work with.
Yeah, I think, mate, I love this, but in general, it's like me first in the morning, it's others during the day, and it's me at the end of the day. And I think, to be honest, you got to be selfish, and that'll really trigger people, especially women. I've got a wife too, by the way. So it's really important that, you've got to give to yourself first. Like, everyone knows you've got to fill your cup and all this stuff. And mate, you and I think, love studying and looking at this stuff. But for me, it's about focus, and you've got to be just focused on what you put your attention and intention into. And so for me, mate, I start every day, like my kids are up at about 6:30. So I like to get up. I go to bed early, about 8:30 now these days. I'm pretty old. But I feel I get tired then. I go to bed then because it's winter at the moment in Australia. I wake up at around 5. I literally walk down to this little office here behind me, mate, and I've actually got a little gym in my office.
Oh my God. Your table tennis there. I'd love to be having a game of table tennis.
When you're in Melbourne, mate, it gets pretty elite down here. We get pretty serious.
Yeah.
Mate, that is the best thing, honestly, for bonding. But we, so I train in the morning. I spend, after my training session, once I've done my masculine thing and I've gone to the zone and I get the most out of that workout, it's more about now the inner work. So, mate, I'm into the cold showers, which are fucking freezing at the moment. And then it's about inner work. So, I do a lot of this inner work where I'm like, what came up for me and what's been coming up of late, or how am I feeling? Because it's all about who I'm being, right? And this is the inner work it's weird, mate. You know me, and I think you're very similar. We can't stop. We can't sit still, right? Or that was the story I used to tell myself. This inner work is like spending 5 to 10 minutes. I do some breath work, and then because I want to chill out and I want to recover and go into the feminine after I've done the masculine thing. So, a lot of this inner work is me. What am I feeling? What's going on? Because it's like everything in life and in business is all about the energy, and it's about who I want to be now. And mate, it's about I just want to be a really good dad and a good man. And so I want to be thinking about that and what's coming up for me. Then once I've done that, I go straight home because I want to be really present with the kids, get them ready for school, spend some time with Laura. And then once I've either dropped the kids off or whatever, 8:30 I do a bit of a pre-work routine. So whether it's I have a cold shower then, and then I do a bit of productivity journaling and think about what my goals are for the day and what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm always thinking about my North Star, and I've got pictures all over the wall of the things we want to do and have. But I visualize that. This is the Maxwell Malt stuff. I visualize it. I go into it about the feeling state and I see it. Mate, it's all happening, you know? So when I start at 9, I'm really grounded in what I want to do. And then, mate, I pretty much work, as I said, 9 till 12. We have a lunch break. I bond with a couple of guys. Got guys come to the office. Got one guy in the other room. Table tennis isn't a must. And then I'll go for a walk, and then typically do a little afternoon block. I'm done by 4. And then, mate, I want to be switched off. I actually leave my iPad, my laptop, everything at the office on charge. And I go and play with Harvey, or I take him to gymnastics or whatever. Cook, look after the kids. There's a routine there that I love, you know. But it's dinner, bath, book, bed. Then I maybe read a book. Mate, at the moment, I'm reading books like Osho, Intimacy, The Love Principle. Like, I'm really getting to, because, dude, you know that when I'm very masculine, right, and very dopamine dominant, it's just not, like, it's still a big part of me, but, mate, I don't even have coffee now.
Oh, really? Because, mate, you're like a full long black espresso master back in the day.
Well, now I'm a long black decaf guy, right?
Oh, wow.
But
still put your full fat cream in there?
That's it, mate. You know that's our special. If you want to be a part of FMA, you have a long black with cream, right? It's a game changer.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, because a lot of this stuff, mate, was, for me, all my energy was, I can't be doing the masculine thing and the go, do, because it destroys you and I get tired. And, mate, my marriage is better. I have better relationships. If I'm a coach, I'm spending 80% of my time coaching people throughout a day. I don't want to be up in my own head. I want to be seeing what they see through their eyes and connecting. And if I want to connect, because that's one of my big values, well, dude, that's been the big change for me, mate. And so, yeah, they're my routines. I mean, outside of that, I love obviously the playtime. I love having a hit of golf. I'm actually doing those things as opposed to over prioritizing work. And, mate, I don't see things changing a whole lot apart from having maybe 15 to 20 people as staff.
Yeah.
And growing this beast and fucking loving what I do in the next 10 years, you know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about showing up, and that's my North Star. That's my routine.
And what does your training specifically look like now? What sort of stuff?
Oh, you'd love this. You'd love this. So mate, have you heard of three-point fatigue training?
No.
Okay, so I pretty much train only about 25 minutes, like, max in a session. I only train like 4 times a week at the moment, and on my off days, I'm actually playing a game of footy, which has really got me back into my competitive spirit. Yeah, although I've strained my hamstring twice, even though we run rehab courses. It's probably my body doesn't work the same as what it did when I was 28, which fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But I basically, like, say for example, if I was going to do an upper body workout, I did you do a chin up weight that, say for example, like, you can do different versions, like volume or more intensity, but I'm doing like 20 kilo chins for about 3 to 4 reps, max out. Drop the weight, do half of that, 10 kilos. Might get 3 or 4 reps out, straight away, drop that, go to body weight, max out. I might get 5 or 6, 7, 8 reps. And then I force out the last 3 reps using my legs, which you know I used to do. I don't cheat anymore, cubby. Right?
I remember you used to put your feet on the ground with chin-ups.
Yeah, I know.
Mate, your calves are already big enough. You don't need to push off with the calves.
I don't need calves, right? But so that's chins, 1 set to failure, done. You know, do the same thing, put a weight on my back, push-ups, all the way to the point where it's then body weight, then it's like up off my knees, then down off my toes, and then it's like Mackenzie push-ups. So these sets sometimes take 2.5 minutes, right, to max out. And I do like maybe 4 to 6 exercises like that, and I'm done.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because I'm getting work capacity and I'm getting hypertrophy. And, mate, I'm doing 1 set. Mate, I'm as fucking lean as I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I train for like 25 minutes. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've been playing with that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And same thing, mate. Try do that with split squats.
Yeah. Just about die.
It's gross.
Yeah. So just a couple of questions left. So if this is a bit of a, I guess, cerebral one, if you could turn back the clock and give yourself advice to when you first got into the industry, or maybe when you first finished your finance degree, what advice would, I guess, you give yourself?
Trust your intuition. Yeah, and oh, mate, so many things. Don't take things so seriously. Like, have fun. Like, fucking have fun. But you got to trust. If you love something, like, I never thought, mate, we started personal training back in the day when it wasn't even really a thing. Like, it was becoming a thing, and people were starting to spend money on it. Like, I say that, mate, we're not that old, but like 2007, the industry is so different 12 years later. You know, like, people buy and spend a lot of money on training, and training's like, it's a serious career now. You know, so for me, it was really about stop being so outcome focused and so seeking so much external validation, start learning how to self-parent and start taking on the role and responsibility of all the choices you make, you know, good and bad. And for me, it's just about trusting that I am good enough, that all of that I want to have is possible, it is available to me. And mate, a big part of my coaching in this inner work is, if you think about parenting, that, you know, like, my dad never spoke to me like that. Like, my mum never spoke to me like that. You know, the role of the dad is to validate. You know, the role of the mother is to inspire and nurture. So, I don't have a problem with drive. That's the masculine, right? I didn't have the feminine. You know, see, everything I did was about self-sacrifice. It was about push yourself into the ground. So, for me, that's why I'm reading all of this stuff on, like, intimacy and Dan Miguel, the guy wrote the Four Laws. Anyway, he's got this book on love and mastery.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm reading a lot on that because, mate, I realized about a year ago, I fucking don't even know how to love myself. You know, I don't even know how to care about myself. So that's why I'm reading that type of stuff, mate. It's because I need to learn how to do everything I do now through self-care, not through self-sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you could look back, are there any big pivotal mistakes that you made in, say, those first few years training people? Can be a funny story or something like that that you look back at now and go, what the fuck was I doing? Like, why did I do that? Or are there any examples of
mate,
that?
fucking, like, I didn't really injure people, but I was shit. The first 2 or 3 years, I was a shit trainer. Like, I was just passionate, right? So I don't think, not really, because I know it's weird. I don't think of it like that. But mate, even if I look back, if I was to think about it, I cringe about it. But, like, the thing is this, I remember that quote. It's like, mate, if you're not embarrassed about where you started out, you know, like, you'll never grow.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the first program you ever did online, I'll bet it was shit compared to what you do now.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to start something. So, mate, I don't know. My big thing is just always focus on growth, and wherever you notice there's a gap, fill it. You know, like, go out there and learn from people that are really good at it. It's not just from us. Like, if you want to do hypertrophy, you go to the best guy in hypertrophy. Like, just study the stuff. And you know, I say this, but I kind of mean it. Like, don't do it to the detriment of, like, relationships and stuff. But, like, we're pretty obsessed about what we do. Right? So really fucking take that passion, do it, but do it from a place of build a business from self-care around it. You know, don't destroy relationships and get too over-invested in study and all of that stuff and chasing money. Just, like, really enjoy what you're doing, you know, like, but find the balance between a fucking good life and these things that you love and you're passionate about.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any things that you look back now and you wish you had done in terms of, like, I know for me, like, email lists and producing content on different platforms? If I had my time again, I would have produced a lot more content in certain platforms, and I would have started an email list a lot sooner. Is there anything that you look back and think, oh shit, I wish I had just invested a little bit more time in this area?
Look, there's part of you that goes, wouldn't it be awesome to have, you know, 1 million followers on Instagram, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But even what I know now, mate, I don't think I ever stopped looking. You know, like, I probably had 5 really average marketing guys, for example, when I was paying people to learn how to do this stuff. Now, I finally got into a guy who, I'm happy to say, a guy called Ben Lewis, who does a lot of our marketing. He's absolutely brilliant. And I've been working with him now for 2.5 years. I love the guy. He actually presents in our mastermind because I'm not the marketing guy. He's the marketing guy. And, like, you learn everything through trial and error. You know, you learn, that's how you learn. So even when things are fucking up, you keep asking, okay, what are we doing well? What aren't we doing well? What can we do better? Right? It's a growth mindset. So, no, like, I don't. If you look on our Facebook page, there's 10,000 followers, right? If you look on Instagram, I don't even use it. There's about 800 or 900 followers. Guess what, guys? Likes equals fuck all. Doesn't mean you're going to make money. I have 10 people come into my Facebook. I've got a pipe drive and a CRM. We run an ad. This is when you run ads, right? But when you're in a gym, you don't even have to worry about social media, right? Yeah. I've got guys making $4,000 a week. They've never done a post, right? Because you don't need to. I think people are focused on the wrong thing. So not really, mate. I just, keep getting the right mentors and the right advice, because for me, mate, 10 people get in our list every day. I call them. I connect with the ones that their energy's right and they're really ready to lean into the coaching and fixing their business. And if they are, they actually sell me on the idea why it makes sense for us to coach them, because this is what they want. Yeah. And if they don't want it, that's cool. FMA's energy was always about being inclusive, right?
Yeah.
So it's for the people who are ready for it. So, yeah, that's just the funny thing. I email an article out once a week. Maybe the odd thing, if maybe you're doing a course, but we don't promote our courses. Did you hear that? We don't even promote our courses, because it's about the problems you have, the solution you're looking for, and give people value and if they're opting in for that thing, I imagine they want that thing. So it's actually about the coaching, and most people, unfortunately, that's why they're shopping for courses. The problem is you don't actually know what you need, because you're not even qualified to diagnose your problems. That's why we jump on a call with you and we help you, because we've got that skill set. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I don't focus on anything that's like that anymore, because I've kind of found the thing, and then now it's just about the work. It's just about every day.
Yeah, and I think
we do.
That's powerful what you said about you don't necessarily need 10,000 followers. You don't need infinite number of people. If there's an article written by a guy called Kevin Kelly, who's like a bit of a futurist, bit of an out there guy. I'm not sure if you heard him. He's a very interesting guy to listen to. But he talks about all you need for a business to be ultra successful is just to have 1,000 true fans. So like people that actually want to buy, and be engaged in your products. And I'd actually probably say, if you've got a high ticket item, maybe you have less. If you have 100 customers that you're servicing well, then chances are you don't need those, extraneous followers, the 10,000, the 20,000 followers that you've got.
Well, I always looked at it, and this is funny. Like before we even had this, I was like, okay, because weirdly you think like $1 million is a lot of money, right? And believe it or not, it's actually not when you run a business, because you end up having staff, people that you pay, marketing expenses, sales staff, systems, all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden $20,000 a week doesn't go far. Believe it or not. That's $1 million a year, right? We're already doing well in excess of that, but it's relative. The more you make, typically the more you also have of expenses. It's all about what you take home and profitability. That's how you win in business. So guys, if you're not high ticket, well, you don't end up winning in business if you're not high ticket. And so we talk about high ticket and all this kind of stuff, but you've got to be of value to be high ticket in the first place. So this always comes back to that thing about value. So yeah, mate, to tell you, we've got about 220 people that pay us a couple of $100 a week. So, and then we've got people at the higher end, and then we've kind of got some offshoot things. But you think about that, like that's 3 years of work.
Yeah, and with those people that you say online as well, do you guys have provisions to work with people exclusively online? So obviously, it's harder if they don't see and go to the courses in Melbourne and Australia and Gold Coast and stuff. But do you have clients that you predominantly just work with online?
We've got some stuff that we can purely put people online with, and it's mostly on the skill set side, so that when we do go overseas, but honestly, we haven't actively promoted it because kind of don't need to. And I was saying that to you earlier, is that most things, guys, when you go high ticket, Cubby, you've kind of got to have a sales process if you're selling anything over about $800 to $1,000. Right? You've got to have a sales process. You've got to be able to chat to people and make sure that it makes sense and that they want it. So, so we do have some stuff though. Like, mate, we've got 5 days of a course filmed, and we've got all our prerequisite content. So, right now we've got a phenomenal thing we could have online, but we just don't actively promote it. But mate, if guys on here reached out and they wanted it, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with them about that, because yes, that's something we could do. But yeah, we're thinking about early next year launching in the States and we've got a lot of interest in in London.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a couple of things come up that we're going to film for those guys, and then we will start actively doing that. But yeah, like, let you guys know if they want to reach out and they want to see this stuff. We've got probably close to about 140 hours of content that's incredible. You know, the stuff that you've done in the past.
Yeah, I'll put my hand up for that. Even the old stuff where Mark Buckley's wearing his leather wrist strap, and he looks like he's just stepped out of some sort of boy band thing. But those videos are still really relevant. I just remember watching them for the first time, and he talking about, you know, orthopedic profile assessing, you know, all those assessments that he talks about. They're still, you know, relevant and current, and they're, you know, well over 10 years old now. But the content he's got is amazing.
The latest one, we did all of our assessments individually, broke them all down, and then we caught two people where Mark shows you the entire flow of the assessment with two people in real time. And one girl on the surface had the most perfect, like, orthopedic profile, amazing ass to grass squat. So I was like, basically tick within about 5 to 10 minutes, no issues. And then when we got into some of the coaching and he was just unpacking her, so we talk about whiteboarding now. So we use a process to, like, engage clients, like in the coaching process. So he went through orthopedic profile, which is about their training, and then it's about their recovery, which is about, as you know, managing sleep, food, and sleep and food, and stress. And it was interesting, her idea of healthy around food was a bit distorted around body image issues as a female. And then we caught that, and that's on the prerequisite material, where there's about an hour and a half coaching session where we really got to the root cause of why she makes the bad choices around food. See, even on the surface, this is the thing, guys. One thing we're really passionate about is you've got to get to the heart of the matter of what's actually getting people stuck. And this is that coaching process. And we caught that on video, which was fucking cool. And that's all part of now the prerequisite content, because this is all about, okay, it's all well and good to learn all this stuff, but how do you use it, right? Like with a client, how do you engage them so that they realize the problems and want to do work with you and do business? You do it through real value, you know. So yeah, some really cool stuff there.
And you see a lot of times, like, an emotional issues often present in the body as a physical, you know, whether it's a structural limitation, or maybe not a structural, but like some sort of limitation in their movement, can be a lot of times, you know, deep-seated issues within their emotional stuff. But that's obviously
totally
Mark's specialty, that area.
Yeah, and then look, if you're not at that level, and even when people watch that, it's like, okay, but then if you can work with the right psychiatrist or a psychologist, you know, this is about knowing your scope of practice and where you're good and not so good. Like, mate, that's one thing for me. I'm doing a lot of stuff on coaching. Like, that's my, outside of a lot of the stuff that I love, like I love teaching and learning sales stuff all the time. But I also love the coaching aspect, and you know, that's something that I'm chasing. And I know a lot of people, this is the best thing about our industry. How much can you learn, dude? Far out. It never ends.
Well, there's no limit to content that you can consume. It's just finding the stuff that's relevant to you and that's going to actually help you from get to point A to point B.
100%. And mate, one thing we are going to do early next year is we're running a man retreat, which is all about learning, because this whole thing around self-parenting is what Hemi wrote a book on. Mark's partner, and she's got a whole course on it, but it's all about learning how to empower women or empower men, but it's all about taking your power back. And you've heard a lot of this stuff, but now that this has all been built out, we're going to start teaching people how to have the initiation into manhood, right? And this is, mate, we're seeing this so much where people are just so confused as men, and they're still acting like kids. Like you say, they're doing the dumb shit, but they're still acting like kids. And yeah, that's the cool part. Like Dylan, someone's yelling out in the other room that he can't wait to do it, you know, like.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So this is the cool stuff.
So actually, we've got two more. So in any quotes or things that you'd say on a daily basis, like a catchphrase or something you'd say to your trainers?
Or
it can be a Mark Buckleyism something that he always says.
Yeah, look, I think that even if I was just to leave you on that one around self-parenting, you got to take on the role and responsibility of all the choices that you make, and accept the consequences of all the choices you make, both good and bad. And you think about that, like that whole idea of self-parenting is about, as I said, stepping in from being a child, even in some areas, and becoming an adult. And for me, like, that works daily. Like, you know, I don't want to be a reactive person in life, you know, and react to shit. Like, I want to be in a good state where if I'm managing how I show up and who I'm being every day, well, then I'm going to be a better human. And this is what life's about, mate. It's all about the experiences you have with others. It's not about money and you know, what you have and all this kind of stuff. It's all about the experiences you have. Like, Cubby, it's really weird because, mate, for me, even though, you know, I can talk, I don't spend a third of my day talking about me. This, to me, is really foreign, right? Because I coach people. This is all I do. So, in a way, it's been oddly weird. But for me, mate, you can see what the last couple of years has done for me, just focusing on this, you know, like, and the other thing, look, one thing I'll leave you with is, you know, John C. Maxwell, who's a guy in I don't know if you've heard of him, does a lot of leadership stuff. Yeah. But he talks about the principle of the law of the lid. Now, if you're like a 4 in business, right? You're pretty shit in business when it comes to being busy and running the wrong model, and then you're only ever going to attract 3s, 2s, and 1s, right? If you're a 4 or 5 in personal development, I don't know, like say Tony Robbins is a 10, right? And your personal development's at a 3, like your energy is low. The book Power versus Force talks about energy. Right? If you're coming from blame, or like, the lowest energy is shame, right? Shame, the worst thing you can do is, and you know what it's like to shame yourself. You know when you just watch porn. Like,
no,
Cubby, you know what
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, and you go, and then you just like, it just happens, and you've just finished, and you're just like, why the fuck did I do that? I feel like shit, right? This is the thing, it's like instant gratification. People are always chasing dopamine and short, quick fixes and all this kind of stuff. And shame is a really low energy. So remember, you can only attract what you bring. And you know what it's like. When you talk to the people that have got a really low energy, a shit energy, they suck the life out of you. So life is all about the energy you bring to the day. So that's why I always focus on the energy I'm bringing, because, mate, if I'm stepping into courage in areas of my life, and, mate, this inner work is about going in and looking at all the shit things, mate. Cubby, there's the things I didn't like about how I was 3 years ago when I felt like a bit of a salesman, because, mate, I had an experience which I can talk about one day, but, mate, I had $2 million that I was dudded in business. And when you're coming from a place of scarcity, like, PTs just know it as, I lost a couple of clients, right? And then they're running around from lack and scarcity. You know the people that you're attracting right at that moment, they can smell that on you. You know when a trainer's like walking up to people like a weirdo, like, how you doing in your workout, when they never do that, their energy's all wrong. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's all about energy. And so this whole idea of the law of the lid is, you can only attract what you bring to the table. So you want to come from the higher levels of energy, like courage. Courage is like 200, right? And love is like 500, and there's higher levels. But I focus on that, you know, like I focus on the energy that I bring, because if you're, for example, if I can take my personal development, which I feel has gone from like let's just say a number of 4, because I've done a lot of courses in the past, but I wasn't really doing the work, you know, the real work. Now I feel like I'm at like a 6 or a 7. Now through the experiences and the things that I'm making sense of and how I'm connecting the dots for the stuff that's happened for me, and remember, it's happened for me, not to me, well, I can help others with that. You know, I can help guys that have done the dumb shit and worked crazy hours and been outcome focused and feel lost, you know? So it's about the law of the lid. Where are you in business? Where are you with your family? Where are you in terms of your relationships? Where are you in terms of money? And you take your level up a notch, then all of a sudden, guess what? You attract real cool shit into your life. So it's all about energy in the law of the lid. So yeah, so if I was going to focus on it, I'd focus on my energy, and the work is about understanding, yes, the stories, but it's about letting go of those stories. You know, making sense of how they've happened for you, because now you get to, for example, listen to this podcast, take a bit of my heart, take a bit of Cubby's heart, grow your heart, and your job is to grow your heart and become even bigger so you can give to your clients.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Serving.
Yeah, that's powerful. So with last one, more on a lighthearted, any dad jokes, and I know Mark Buckley likes to think of himself as a bit of a stand-up comic rather than a presenter. So if you don't have one yourself, you can just throw one of his in.
Mate, honestly, and I'm going to disappoint you, but he's the one who has the shit dad's jokes.
Oh, really?
I just pretty much take the piss out of myself most of the time.
Okay.
Being a bald dad that's a fossil around our guys. So, mate, I don't have anything for you, but can I work on that? Because I'm a bit disappointed that something hasn't come off the top of my head.
No, that's all good.
Actually, what do you call a Greek that's jumping off a cliff, trying to kill themselves?
No idea.
Condescending. How bad's that?
So good. That's what I was looking for, a dad joke. So where can people get in touch with you, specifically to, if they want to get online with you, or to find out more, maybe to subscribe to your email list just so they can get the updates? Because I'll link to this in the show notes. But yeah, what's the best place to contact you?
Yep, FMAstrengthinstitute.com is our website, and we've got an amazing blog section. So if you want to start reading kind of what we do and some of our opt-ins, like, mate, I've got 6,000 word opt-ins which step you through our entire model, how we go from one-on-one, semi-private, all the way through to running, courses. So there's some really cool stuff. Mate, Mark Luxon, Facebook. Right, if you want to ever send me a message or reach out, mate, I'm not one of those people that I'm uncontactable. But yeah, like, if I can guide people in the right direction, once you kind of get into, opting into our articles, we put a lot of content out, but we also do pretty regular, like, webinars. And, that's for you guys to consume. Like, consume as much of our stuff. And then if you actually do want to take a next step, like reach out, because we'll talk, we'll have a chat. A lot of opportunities come up like this, Cubby, where it takes us to different countries and we can do a lot of stuff. Yes, we can travel, but, we look at these things based on our diary and when it makes sense. But yeah, if you're in our database, you'll always get awesome content. And it's content directed at really busy trainers that are looking for that next step. So yeah, FMAstrengthinstitute.com or Mark Luxon on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram a whole lot anymore. So yeah, reach out, and more than happy to have a chat, Cubby Monster.
No. And I definitely encourage listeners to do that. And I think the FMA model as well, it encourages active learning and engagement, and like you said, with the webinars and that sort of stuff, rather than just passively consuming, whether it's a podcast or whatever it is, to get involved and comment and, engage with you, because I think you're accessible to people and you've been through it, and I think it's important to learn from people who've been through the stuff that perhaps they haven't been through before.
Yeah, you're right, mate. I think that's the most important thing. It's deliberate learning. Like, don't come along on, for example, the webinar and not say anything, because you don't want to learn that we're going to give you what you want. If you've got a question, just ask it. Like, seriously, because we love this stuff. We're here for you guys to help, So yeah, reach out, and I'm sure, mate, great. I appreciate that if you're going to put the links up, because yeah, it's like we can share the story. But mate, I have thoroughly enjoyed catching up with you, and I really look forward to seeing you if you're going to be in Melbourne at some stage.
Well, potentially Christmas time we might be back, so we'll do another podcast maybe in person next time. It's always more fun, and then I definitely want to get on that ping pong table and give you a match.
Mate, you can bring your best. I really look forward to that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, any parting words just before we leave?
No, mate. I love you. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate being able to share this. And yeah, I only do these every now and then. So yeah, it's been a good experience. Thanks mate, you're a very smooth operator when it comes to presenting. So thank you.